I'll bounce off you, whatever you say.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have with me again Sister Magboeba Davids, who has been an activist for the IUC Women's Forum for the past 3 decades, specifically for women's issues relating to the womb. And if you don't mind me using the maternalist definition of empowered motherhood, but basically a maternalist activist, pretty much focusing on, empowering women and establishing women's authority through their accountability with their rights falling into place. Do you think that that's a fair description?
That's absolutely
yeah.
fine.
And then, of course, her role pretty much incorporates counseling, group workshops, Zoom, online meetings, humanology classes, and what else? She's written essays, articles. She's been interviewed on Radio 7. You were on Radio 786 for 2 decades. On Radio 786 for 2 decades, and there's something else.
Yeah, also making the link between.
And then also working with other organizations and groups
absolutely,
as well. Yeah, on an international level. So we always focus a great deal about, women, but in a more abstract sense, relating to the Quran and Sunnah, not excluding the family of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So it's the maternal aspect that unfortunately does tend to get swept aside, and we've been discussing a lot, especially within the context in the maternalist quartet, under the orbit of Maryam. We're now looking at the Quran, we're looking at the story of Maryam alayhi salam, and specifically now the part where Zakaria, her protector, he builds his mihrab for her, he protects her in the space within the temple, and then he finds her with fruits out of season. And this is within the backdrop of a society where women and people who are vulnerable in general are being denied provision. So you'll notice, for example, Isa alayhi salam, he has the miraculous ability later on. He can actually, he can tell people okay, I know that you have this in your house, I know that you ate this, so I know that you're withholding. So we know that in the backdrop of the story of Maryam and Isa, peace be upon them, that there is this corruption and hypocrisy and religious narcissism, like communal narcissism, and this front of people being very religious, using religion as like a weapon against people, but then at the same time also denying people, hurting the vulnerable of the community. So now we have this young woman, or young girl becoming a woman, and she's so focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then what happens is that Zakaria alayhi salam, he finds her with fruits out of season, and he asks her about it, but her response is that, look, Allah provides to whom he will. So she's not taking credit for it. She's reminding us and teaching us that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our ultimate provider and protector. So even though people might deny us and block us from what is rightfully ours, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will still provide. And, those, if we put Allah first, Allah will make a way out for us. So that's a huge part of that lesson. So I don't know if you want to maybe touch on that quickly before I go into the notes.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking of fruits out of season, Sister Lila. And that also for me, rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah, like you just mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being our sustainer. But how many women today, especially single women, also have that belief, and they see themselves perhaps within these situations as perhaps victims of the circumstances.
Yeah.
And how this belief within Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the sustainer of his creation now actually prove us that he, through the example of Maryam, and having first for us to be, first for us to really be committed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then Allah ta'ala actually responds for us in a way that now that you have made a commitment to me, then Allah ta'ala actually grants us that particular that rizq.
Yes.
But the rizq in a sense
comes from
Allah. It comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
The leaders of that time, they wanted to hijack, take control, basically be lords of the people. And we find that today as well with organizations. People that they'll hijack the zakah, they'll hijack the sadaqah, they'll hijack the charity, the money, and then they don't distribute, like they're trying to be lords over the community.
Absolutely.
You know, it was given to them to give to the community. It's a trust, it's an amanat, which they are not supporting at all.
That's why women also find that they need also to be, or they have this dependency on humanity instead of a dependency on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or entirely depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this beautiful concept of fruits out of season, whereas the concept of rizq.
Okay.
Right, and rizq doesn't mean only like in monetary value. Rizq can come in many forms. Sustenance can come in many forms, and also sustenance can also mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants us contentment within our hearts. You know, to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
I just want to bring your attention. This is this is a Hebrew calendar. So let me see if I don't know if this is going to work. Nope, I don't think that's going to work. I'm going to have to do like a sticker shot or something.
All right.
So if you look here, can you see the fruits there? You got the barley corresponding with going into April, the Passover. Then there's the wheat. Coming into May, then you've got wheat, early figs. Towards the end of May, June, you've got like the first grapes, summer fruits coming like towards the end of July. August, you've got dates, grapes, and figs. Then you've got September, the plowing period. Then olives in October. The flocks wintered November. December, you've got vegetation developing. Almond blossoms in January. And then February, you've got flax. And you'll notice this. Can you see there's another little Jewish festivals? But then you'll notice with the Jewish festivals, you can see that there's the wheat there, there's the blossoms there. Here's another little calendar with a circle showing you where the fruits come in, the early figs come in there, first grapes, summer fruits, and so on and so forth. So I'll try and do like a little, I'll do my best. It'd be nice if we had a professional editor. May Allah grant us that one day, I mean. So that's why, if you look at it from this perspective, so basically if you just looked up a Jewish calendar, festivals or seasons, to see where the fruits come in, like the figs and what have you. So this is in the northern hemisphere. What is so fascinating if you look at it from this point of view, now you can appreciate why Zakaria, he comes in and he says, oh, you've got fruits out of season. So now you can see that there's a consciousness about the season, right? Now, when Isa is born, there's a date tree. She shakes the tree. You can run that parallel to, for example, when the mothers have that adrenaline and they pick the car up of their children, or that you mentioned the lady in Hadith running into the battlefield to defend her son. So that's one theory, that's one point of view. But what's interesting is that the fact that there's dates being shaken from the tree is also telling you a little bit of the time of year as well.
It was like summer.
It's telling you the time of year. So it wasn't the 25th of December.
Not at all. Not at all.
It wasn't snowing. It wasn't the 25th of December. It wasn't in the winter time. It was, I'm not sure when is the dates, but that also corresponds with some mathematicians. I know there's quite a lot of theories about it. A lot of people arguing about how Isa, aka Jesus, would have been born like more or less the summer months. And then there's this theory, I'm not sure if I mentioned it to you, like, because now all of these things that I found, these symbols that I found, like the flocks wintering and the plowing, all of that can be found in Jewish heraldry. If you look at like a Jewish family crest or herald, you'll see a lot of these symbols, like Shapiro's got the sheep and things like that. Okay. So that's it's so fascinating. And then, but then I also found a lot of astronomical of the 88 fixed signs were also a lot in Jewish heraldry as well. And so what I also found was that with all these things mentioned, especially in the Bible, there's actually an astronomical link or symbol to the thing that's being mentioned. There's actually a mathematician who talks about revelations. But he says that a lot of this being discussed, you'll find in astronomy. So the Bible's actually speaking in astronomical terms, but then people lose connection with that, and they don't understand anymore. That's why I was going to do a whole talk of healers of the heavens, where people are not paying attention to. People don't pay attention to astronomy. I mean, like if you look at how we're supposed to spot the moon, remember there was that debate about, I think it was the Saudi government. They're like, okay, everybody go, but they weren't actually looking at the heavens. They weren't actually like sighting the moon. So we have this problem of people not being attentive to the heavens, and then losing that contact. In the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam, people were incredibly astronomically advanced.
Absolutely.
In fact, it's believed that the people before him, they were so astronomically advanced that they had a star index the same as what we've had from the 1700s. That was the amount of their star index. So people have always been astronomically orientated, and then what happens is people lose that connection, so that they lose the language, or they lose the symbolism. So the theory of being born in a manger, if you look at the constellation of Cancer, within the constellation of Cancer, there's the manger constellation. And there's two stars called the two asses.
Wow.
So a lot of the things in the Bible could actually be linked to astronomical discussions. Because my dad's still a Catholic, and he's saying, the monks, they don't want to touch the... I said, no, but they must go look into astronomy. And then it all makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Because again, Allah Ta'ala also guides or draws our attention to celestial bodies, like sighting of the moon when it's Ramadan and things like that. And I always find, why do Allah Ta'ala actually draw our attention to the moon? To guide us and for us to make decisions, right? To fast in season, to perform the Hajj in season, right? And again, the moon, because Allah Ta'ala has created everything in truth. So we can have our own idea or own understanding, but yet the celestial bodies actually guides us to truth. Right? The true understanding of, I would say, time and cycles and things like that. And it's also how we have, like in modern society, have dislodged ourselves from the cyclical nature in which everything has been created.
That brings us to our next subject about the concept of the which I have not. No, that's not coming from there. Okay, I messed up, but it's fine. I'll just speak off the cuff. So you got this concept of the Vesica Pisces. Vesica Pisces, if you draw two circles, and then you've got that like almond shape in the middle, right? So people relate it to the cosmic womb. Please note, the angel Gabriel breathes into the sleeve. So visually, if you look at the sleeve at an angle, it makes that shape.
That's very interesting.
You see, it's got that oval shape.
Yes.
As well as the eye. What else? The almond seeds, fruits out of season. What else has that shape? Leaves have that shape. Wheat has that shape. A lot of these things that you find in the Jewish calendar. Now, I found out recently that I'm descended from what they call crypto Jews. Mainly from my mom's side. So these people, they were crypto, but they went into the church. And a lot of that symbolism that I showed you in the calendar, you would find that in the church. The grapes and the wheat and all of that. And the Quran talks about these things, especially in Ar-Rahman, like one of the blessings of the Lord will you deny. But now all of these shapes have sacred geometric significance. So, for example, if you look at grapes, these are circular, but they overlap. And as they overlap, that you get that Vesica Pisces. Then you get the actual fish. Then you get the bread. So, so if you look at these themes that you'll find them like in scripture. You'll find the Quran touches on these themes quite consistently, especially in relation to Isa alayhi salam. What these are actually doing is that they're actually healing you on a subconscious level, because it's talking to your subconscious. It's telling your subconscious. It's connecting it to the creation, and then the reminder that there's creation, therefore there's a creator. So you'll have, for example, two cells, and it forms like the cosmic womb. Or the Vesica Pisces. Then when you add another circle, that's called a triquarter. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's a triquarter. So that was in the TV series Charmed. I don't know if you remember Charmed. You might. If you're a good Muslim, you shouldn't have been watching that. But now they had that. It's like it's very much like a pagan-y thing where they put it on the book of spells. But that was like an old Celtic thing, and what that actually literally is, it's light. It's blue light, green light, red light, overlapping to form the white light in the middle. So when they take a red light, spotlight, and a blue light, and a green light, and they put it over each other, on the very middle you get the white light. So all this light that you're seeing around you is a combination of these three lights overlapping.
Like the
so you're literally looking at green light, blue light, red light overlapping to make the white light that you're seeing. This is white light. This light that you're seeing is the white light. So the triquarter, they talk about the middle world being the white world, but it's actually a scientific discussion. So I find with the ancients, the pagans, that I think what people were doing is that people were advanced mathematically, astronomically, scientifically, and a lot of these concepts basically turned into a whole lot of new age cuckoo nonsense because people just didn't understand, or they lost understanding, like the more scientific understanding of creation. So then they started putting other things, oh, this means this and that means that, and so on and so forth. Like
Yeah, they actually put their own understanding to the symbols.
Yeah.
And also what we find today, also the important, I think the time that we're living in today, as we can actually put the religion, connect that with science.
Yeah.
And I think when we do that,
we can reconcile the two now, whereas before people couldn't do that because they were illiterate.
They were illiterate. So that is the beauty, and also that I think feel in my personal experience when I put the two together, looking at the scientific knowledge, and also what the Quran is saying, it put those two entities together.
Yeah.
That you find those aha moments, you find that connection, right?
Yeah.
So again today, now we learn about the fruits out of season with Maryam, and we can actually make the connection with the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Tawheed. That everything is interrelated. So it starts with the simple concept of there's creation, therefore there's a creator. However, the Tawheed is that there's definitely one creator, because there's this consistency. And so, like, I think we're probably going to go into this deeper next week, inshallah.